Today I'm just going to talk a little bit about Griffith in general, so give you some of the most popular programs. I won't probably get to cover every single thing that you're all in, but don't feel that you can't ask questions. Of course, you can ask me questions at any time, and I will have all of my contact details at the end as well. So if you would like to email, call, FaceTime, whatever, in the future to talk about your particular situation, we can certainly do that as well. So without any further ado, and hopefully no more technical issues, let's get on with it. So to start off, Griffith is a pretty young university. It was started or founded in the 1970s. So quite a young university in terms of, age of universities globally, but still a university that's doing really, really well for its age. It is currently ranked in the top 2% of universities worldwide. So a great achievement for any university, but particularly a university, that's under the age of 50. It's a pretty phenomenal achievement. So at Griffith, we are definitely very focused on our teaching. You'll see a lot about our teaching achievements, our excellence. We do take that very seriously at Griffith. And it is particularly important for undergrad programs, obviously. But research is another component of life at Griffith. So research is very important, and it pretty much goes hand in hand with teaching at Griffith. A lot of undergrads don't think about that necessarily coming into bachelor programs, but it is something that's key and something you should think about, because research does inform good teaching. So you want to make sure that you're being taught things that are actually applicable to industry and getting the most up-to-date information and examples from industry. So Griffith is also, you'll see there from our 5-star ranking for employability, we are very focused on making sure that graduates will be employable at the end of their program. So this you'll see kind of, it's really well demonstrated pretty much in every program across the university. There are work integrated learning opportunities throughout the programs, very similar to co-op in Canada, except that we don't do it as an entire semester at a time. You'll be able to take work integrated learning opportunities all throughout your program at Griffith. And as I mentioned, you'll see there on the far right, so even though we are a young university, we are actually ranked on the QS World Rankings as a top university under the age of 50. Again, as I mentioned, teaching, we are Australia's most awarded teaching university, and you can see some examples of that here. So yeah, teaching is pretty important to us, as it should be. So to give you a breakdown of what Griffith looks like in size, essentially we like to say we have 6 campuses. We have 5 physical campuses and 1 virtual campus. We have just over 50,000 students at Griffith. So sometimes students hear that and they think, oh, whoa, that's going to be a huge university, kind of like a UBC size. Keep in mind that that 50,000 is split across the 5 physical campuses and the distance campus as well. So our largest campus has about 18,000 students at the moment. So it's a good number to where you feel like there's a lot going on, but not so big in that you think, wow, I'm just going to get lost in this place. It's basically like, a city of its own. So yeah, I think it's kind of got the best of both worlds in that respect. Good numbers, good student atmosphere, but still plenty of personalised service and support. So of those 50,000 odd students, we have almost 20% of our students are international, which is great, from over 130 different nationalities. So very, very diverse student base. And we offer over 200 degrees at Griffith. So I'll show you in a moment, but we really do span quite a lot of subject areas. So there's mostly something for everybody at Griffith. There's not too much we don't have. Okay, so location. Some of you might be familiar with Australian geography. Some of you maybe not so much. Completely understandable. So it's a big country similar to Canada, very wide, also very long. So you'll see a big change in climate from the top of the country to the bottom. But all of Griffith's campuses are located here in the state of Queensland, and you'll see Brisbane and the Gold Coast marked down here. So Brisbane is our capital city, and that is where Nathan, Mount Gravatt, South Bank and Logan campuses are located. So they're all slightly different campuses. So Nathan is pretty much the big comprehensive campus. It has pretty much everything. Mount Gravatt is very focused on kind of psychology, criminology, education. South Bank is very much the cultural and creative hub. So that's where you would go if you were doing something like design. Or if you were going to the film school or music con, something like that. So very, very cool campus, and right down in the downtown area of Brisbane. And then Logan is kind of almost between Brisbane and the Gold Coast. It's so far south in Brisbane that it's almost at the Gold Coast. And Logan is really the area where you would go and specialise in something like you know, human services, social work, those kind of programs. The Gold Coast campus has pretty much everything. It's almost everything. It's very much a mirror of the Nathan campus, but it actually has a little bit more. For example, you can do design at the Nathan campus. You can't do the other creative arts, but you can do design, a little bit of photography and stuff like that. The other thing you can do at the Gold Coast campus, it is also very focused on health sciences. So we actually have a purpose-built health centre there as well. So it actually offers slightly more than the Nathan campus in Brisbane. Just keep in mind too, in terms of distances and campuses, the two cities, Gold Coast and Brisbane, are only actually an hour drive from each other. So, you know, even if your first preference is one campus and you happen to get into another one, you're still going to be able to spend plenty of time in both cities because they are just that close. So life in Queensland is pretty good. As you can see here, looks pretty nice, about 300 days of sunshine a year. There is really no such thing as winter in the southern part of Queensland. So it pretty much looks like this most of the year. You can see there that the winter temperatures are really not winter, obviously in our Canadian terms. So it's definitely a nice escape if you prefer the warmer weather and you want to get away from your Canadian winter. You can certainly do that in Queensland. So these numbers are, I think, still slightly out of date now. Oh, sorry. Brisbane is now about 2.5 million people and the Gold Coast is about 600,000. There is public transport available to all of our campuses in both cities. So for example, if you're at the Nathan campus, you would be most likely taking a bus, and there are bus stops right in on the campus, so you don't even have to walk anywhere. Gold Coast, you would either be taking the tram or a bus. Interestingly, if you were at the South Bank campus downtown, depending on where you live, you could either walk, take the ferry, or a bus or a train. So it's extremely well connected to public transport. So just to give you a bit of an idea of where our campuses are in relation to the cities. So you can see here the campus in the foreground and Surfers Paradise in the background. So Surfers Paradise obviously is the most kind of, I guess, well-known area of the Gold Coast. And yeah, so we are in an area called Southport. And basically you would get on the G-Link tram if you were living in Surfers Paradise or one of the other suburbs along the Gold Coast. There are lots of great places to live kind of pretty close to the beach. But basically, let's say you were living at Surfers Paradise, you wanted to get to the Griffith campus at Southport, you're looking at about a 20-minute ride on the G-Link. So pretty good, and that runs pretty much around the clock. Lots of good flexibility there. But yeah, you can see our accommodation building here. We also have a big aquatic centre, so if you're big into working out and having those kind of facilities around, plus a pool. I should also mention our on-campus accommodation here also has a pool. So you have a couple of different options there, which is pretty nice. And just a couple of teaser pics of life on the Gold Coast. So moving on to Brisbane. So this is downtown Brisbane pretty much. So this shows the South Bank campus, which is over here. Pretty much opposite. So this area over here is downtown. So Queen Street Mall is one of the kind of landmarks of that area. We do have, this is one of our accommodation partners, Student One Accommodation. If you happen to be looking for something downtown, they're here. Obviously, if you were going out to the Nathan campus from here, you would be taking a bus. But if you happen to be doing design or something at South Bank campus, you could come across the bridge, you could take a ferry, yeah, or take a train. And then this is the Nathan campus. So this is about 20 minutes away by bus from downtown. So from where we were just looking to here, you can see how different it is. So I don't think I mentioned it, but the South Bank campus and the Mount Gravatt campus are actually opposite each other. So they're literally just separated by a road. And both campuses are located in a national park. So that is why you see so much green. Yeah, it's a really, really beautiful campus to study on. And I often have my colleagues who work at this campus sending me pictures of koalas that they're seeing outside of their office windows. So it will give you a very quintessential Australian experience for sure. And this is downtown Brisbane. This is kind of around the South Bank campus that I just talked about. So Brisbane does not have, you know, an ocean like the Gold Coast does, but the Brisbane City Council created this man-made beach right here in South Bank. So very close to students who are studying on the South Bank campus. So kind of a great way to spend a lunchtime or somewhere to go and relax after classes. And again, if you're an outdoorsy person, there's also a lot of stuff to do in Brisbane. Again, it is built, as you saw from the pictures of the South Bank campus, it is built on a river, the Brisbane River. So yeah, it's not on the beach as such, but it does have a lot of great outdoorsy kind of activities to get involved in. Okay, so let's dig down a little bit into the academics. So I did mention early on that Griffith offers over 200 degrees, and sorry the slide's a little wonky down the bottom there. But yeah, you can see here the range of different program options that we have. So we do go through with everything from, you know, business and government through to things like engineering and aviation, medicine and all the health sciences, you know, visual and creative arts. So kind of everything. There's not too much that we don't cover at Griffith. And we're going to go into a little bit more detail about some of these areas as we go along. Just one more thing I wanted to mention on the employability front, because I did mention early on that we're very big on employability for our graduates and making sure that our degrees are, you know, what industry wants, therefore what is going to help you get a job. So I did mention the work integrated learning, but there are a bunch of other opportunities at Griffith as well to help you improve your employability before you graduate. So we do have a lot of types of internships and industry placements. One of those you'll see about halfway down the list there is the community internship. So if you have any opportunities for electives, I would highly recommend this one. This basically counts for one of your courses. So normally it would be about a quarter of your semester load. And basically it's like our other work integrated learning opportunities, but with the community internship, you actually get matched to a not-for-profit or community organization. So you're getting, the internship hours that you need for your degree, but at the same time, you get to give back something to the local community. I should also mention that we do have staff who work to match you to your employer. So you're going to be matched to your study area. You're not going to be doing something that's completely irrelevant to your study area. So rest assured. And of course, there are lots of opportunities for mentoring. Our Careers and Employment Service also run a lot of different workshops and opportunities for you throughout the semester as well. And I'm not sure if you're all aware, but Griffith now works on a trimester system. So for us, our calendar is almost the opposite of the North American calendar. So in Australia, we work on the calendar year. So for us, our trimester one would basically run from February to June. And then I'll show you actually next slide, I think explains it a little bit better. So yeah, so you can see here. So let's look, for example, at 2020 dates. So trimester 2, your orientation would be in June, end of June into July. And then the teaching session would go from July through to October. And then there's an exam period before you have a break. And if you look over here at trimester 1, 2021, you can see that orientation is in February. Then your teaching time is March through to May. And then exams then break. So you can start, most of the programs we're going to talk about today, you can start in trimester 1 or 2. Sometimes trimester 3 is an available option as well. And just depending on the length of your program, you may do, trimester 2, have a break in trimester 3, for example, because it's not compulsory for international students to do trimester 3. So you could do trimester 2, have a great break, come back to Canada, work in Australia, travel around, whatever you want to do, and then finish up in trimester 1 or continue on to trimester 2. If you're starting in trimester 1 and you only have a year to do, you may even finish, at the end of trimester 2. So depending on the length of your program and when you start, there's quite a bit of flexibility in actually how long you can end up staying in Australia. So we do give a lot of credit for prior learning, and obviously that's what we're mostly talking about today. Because Griffith has so many college partnerships across Canada, we do offer number of pathways from college diplomas here in Canada through to our bachelor degrees. And sometimes there's even a slightly different pathway, which we'll talk about in a moment as it comes up. Okay, so firstly, we're going to talk a little bit about programs that you might be coming into if you are doing some kind of business program, like a business diploma. So the business school at Griffith is really big, really well funded, is pretty well known, and it does have quite a range of subject areas. One of the additional points to remember about the business school at Griffith is that it's AACSB accredited. And this is a North American accreditation that only relates to business, but not a lot of schools outside of North America have this accreditation. So it's an extra assurance for you. So even though okay, Griffith is ranked in the top 2% worldwide. It's a globally recognised university. When you have a business degree from Griffith, you also can rest assured that your degree will be recognised back in North America. And a lot of our programs in the Griffith Business School are ranked really highly. Tourism, for example, is ranked very highly, 11th in the world, number 1 in Australia. So these are some of the major study areas that you might be looking at when you come to Griffith. Now, obviously, for you coming from college partners, your pathway into the programs is usually a little bit more set. So sometimes you'll get to choose a major, sometimes you won't. But depending on what program your diploma pathway is into, it may already be kind of set up for a specific study area. So many of you who are looking at business would be looking at coming into the Bachelor of Business, Bachelor of International Business, or the Bachelor of Commerce, just depending on what the kind of major area of study in your diploma is. So, for example, if your diploma was something to do with general business or marketing management, you would be in the Bachelor of Business or International Business generally. If you're coming into commerce, you've probably done something with finance or accounting. So that's the general kind of difference, the breakdown there. So normally our business programs are 3 years, and I should mention in Australia, all undergraduates pretty much are 3 years unless they're honours degrees, and that's a 4-year program. So this program is normally 3 years, but obviously if you're coming in with credit from our Canadian college partners, you can finish this program in 1 to 1.5 years, depending on how much credit you're bringing in. So normally, if you're doing a 2-year diploma in Canada, you would finish in 1.5 years. And if you're doing a 3-year diploma, you'll normally finish with us in a year. And by a year, I don't mean 3 trimesters, I mean 2. So even though we work on a trimester system, 2 trimesters is considered a normal academic year. So this program is you're looking at about $28,500 for tuition. So that's for 2 trimesters tuition. It's not cheap, I'm not going to lie. None of these programs are cheap by any means. Of course, $28,500 is a lot of money. We do appreciate that. Remember, you are getting, again, Griffith is a highly ranked university. You're going to be getting an excellent quality experience, and you're also going to obviously have the opportunity to have that global experience by studying in another country, and usually getting some work experience in another country as well. So this program is offered in Brisbane. It would be at the Nathan campus, but you can also do it on the Gold Coast, and there are 3 possible start dates for this one. So either February, July, or October. I should mention as well, if you're doing something related to hotel management or tourism, you would be coming into our Bachelor of International Tourism and Hotel Management. So criminology and law is another area of Griffith, and obviously we have a lot of pathways for criminology students in Canada. Griffith's Criminology School is actually the oldest in Australia, so we have a really good foundation in this area. It's a very strong program. There's a lot of industry contact, a really good relationship with the police force in Australia. So lots of guest speakers, lots of opportunities for mentorship. So here it's pretty straightforward. So you guys would normally be coming into the Bachelor of Criminology and Criminal Justice, and you'd be able to start in trimester 1 or 2 for this one. And this one is offered at Gold Coast, Nathan, Mount Gravatt, and also available online. Yeah, I don't think, I mean, we can talk more about law if you have any specific questions, but normally if you're coming through from a college diploma, you'd be looking at criminology and criminal justice. However, we do offer, as well as a JD, we do also offer an undergraduate law degree that will allow you to become registered as a lawyer in Canada and Australia as well. So if you have any more questions about that, just let me know. So I think we've gone through everything here. Just, yeah, an idea of what you'd be studying. Obviously, with criminology, criminal justice, you're going to be looking at law as well, but you're also going to be looking at, you know, the psychology behind crime, you know, social aspects of it, politics, and the social work as well, because there's a lot of working with people. You know, you'd be looking at police work, what the police do, as well as, you know, what the courts do, how that whole system works, and a lot of other things as well. So that's the other thing I should mention. You can also specialise in the criminology program by picking specific elective courses. So that's something you can talk to your program director about once you're into the program. So education is another area at Griffith that, you know, we're very strong in, and we do and have had a lot of teachers graduate from Griffith from Canada. I run into them at high schools all the time, and sometimes at our college and university partners as well. So education, we do get a lot of interest in education. We don't have any direct college partnerships or pathways right into the Bachelor of Education. Most students who are doing something like early childhood, like a diploma in that kind of area, would be coming into probably Bachelor of Child and Youth Studies or Human Services, something along those lines. Having said that, we do have an undergraduate, we have undergraduate and master's degrees in education that will satisfy the requirements to become a teacher back here in Canada. So you are, of course, more than welcome to apply for those programs. You just may not get as much credit as you would get into some of the other programs. So if you're thinking you'd really want to become a teacher and you want to do the Bachelor of Education, the best thing to do would be to you know, contact the team at KOM, submit an application, and then we can do a full credit assessment at that time and look at exactly how much credit you would get into the Bachelor of Education. And there's lots of different specialty areas in education. So obviously primary and secondary, early childhood, but there's also a lot of specialty work going on around, you know, things like autism studies. You can look at adult education as well. So lots of different options. So engineering, IT and aviation, we get a lot of students coming into aviation management, some IT as well, and of course engineering. We've had a number of engineering students come through over the years. So there are a couple of different options for Bachelor of Aviation Management in general, I should say. So traditionally what we've offered is the Bachelor of Aviation Management. So normally if you've done a 2-year program, then you'd be able to come into this Bachelor of Aviation Management. And then, you know, normally if students had done a 3-year, they would come in, same program, but finish in a shorter time. What is generally the kind of higher level pathway now for students who've done a 3-year diploma with co-op, you can actually bypass the Bachelor altogether, come in and do the graduate certificate, and then that's pretty much a trimester program, and then you pathway into the Master of Aviation Management, bringing that credit from the grad cert with you, so you'll actually finish the Masters in a year. So that's a really great option, and that one can be done online as well. So we do have a lot of Canadians studying that one online without having to go anywhere. But of course, you always have the option to go to Australia as well. This is a great program. So again, it's one of those programs similar to education where we've been doing it for a long time. We have a lot of great industry ties. We work very closely with Qantas, for example. So lots of opportunities to do research projects that are really applicable to industry. And you'll find there's a really strong alumni network in this program, not just within this program, but also within Canada more specifically, because we do have so many graduates from this program. And this just gives you a bit of a breakdown, obviously, of the different areas, the other areas that you can study. In terms of engineering, we used to write our engineering pathways down in detail. And you would have been able to probably find them on your college websites in the past. I'm not sure if you still can. But we don't list them on our own kind of internal tables anymore. The engineering school prefers to kind of work with students one-on-one. So if you're looking at engineering, it would be basically assessed upon application. So if you apply through KOM, there's no fee to apply to Griffith. So if you want to find out, exactly what your credit assessment would be for a program where we don't have that kind of established pathway, or we haven't got it written down in our tables anymore, then the best thing to do is really apply. And then we'll take it to our credit team, who'll work with the faculty to come back and tell you exactly on your offer letter how much credit we'll give you and how much time you'd have left to complete your program. The other thing I should mention is, even though Australia and Canada, the engineering bodies do have a reciprocal agreement, which is great, the provinces in Canada can actually override any of those kind of national agreements. So just be careful. We haven't had any issues with most provinces, but I think there are some provinces, for example, I'm pretty sure Alberta sometimes has extra requirements that you would have to complete upon return to Canada. It's very much, very different province by province. So I do encourage you to make sure that you check with your provincial engineering body before deciding on any engineering degree outside of your province. So just make sure it transfers back, and if it does, are there any additional requirements that you'll need to complete? Okay, so medicine, dentistry and health. So we do, as we talked about earlier, we do offer a lot of the standard programs like medicine, dentistry, physio, occupational therapy, all that kind of stuff. But there are a lot of other programs that fall into our health category that have pathways from the colleges as well. So yeah, these are some of the areas. So in addition to what I mentioned, we have physio, we have pharmacy, paramedicine, things like biomedical science and exercise science. So lots of different areas here. And you'll also note that things like public health and social work are also part of this particular school. So in terms of pathways, I guess the two most popular in this area are the Bachelor of Child and Family Studies and the Bachelor of Human Services. So for Child and Family Studies, again, depending on the length of your diploma, you'd normally be finishing our program in 1 to 1.5 years. This one is offered only in Brisbane at the Logan campus, but you can start in either trimester 1 or 2, so February or July. This program is very, very hands-on, so a large component of it is meeting professional requirements for registration, so you'll have a lot of practical placements in this program. And basically it's very much focused, because the name says Child and Family Studies, it is very much focused on children in the family, welfare of children and family situations, child protection, that kind of stuff. So if you have a passion for this area, this is a great program to do. And similar to that is the Bachelor of Human Services. The difference with this one, okay, first off, you can study it in Brisbane at the Logan campus, or you can actually do this one at the Gold Coast as well. Same intakes, so try 1 or try 2. This one is similar to child and family studies. It's just a little bit different in that it's including kind of welfare of the community. It's looking at disability and aging. It's looking at a whole range of different types of people in the community, not as focused on children and families. And moving along to science and environment. So in this particular area, most people will be coming through to our Bachelor of Environmental Science. We actually had the first School of Environment in Australia and first degree in environmental science. And that was back in the 70s when we first started. So you can imagine we have quite a background, quite a great foundation in environmental science. And we also offer marine science in case anybody's interested in marine biology. So this gives you all the different kind of areas. So we have a lot of different stuff. Forensic science is another one that some of you may be interested in if you kind of have, you know, criminology and or science background. We don't have a pathway yet for forensic science specifically, but again, as with anything that you see here, just because we don't have a pathway with your particular college doesn't mean that one can't be created. So make sure that if you look on your college site or you look on the Griffith site and you can't see a pathway from your program, feel free to reach out to myself or reach out to KOM, because we will be able to get your particular diploma assessed for credit into any of these programs. So yeah, just keep in touch. So again, Bachelor of Environmental Science, pretty similar to everything else. It's a trimester 1 or 2 start. You can do it at Brisbane in the Nathan campus. So that's the one set in the forest. So yeah, it's a good place to do environmental science. But of course, it's also offered on the Gold Coast, which also offers, you know, a range of opportunities in the forest and on the ocean as well. This one is very interesting too, because it includes a capstone course in your final year, and that will be an industry internship or a research project, depending on, you know, how deep your interest is in doing further research. So yeah, it's a really, really interesting final year. So moving on to application, this slide just gives you an idea of, you know, the steps that you would basically take if you were applying online via the Griffith website. Of course, we work with KOM Consultants here in Canada, so we're very happy for you to apply via KOM. They give you a lot of extra support in the application process. So rather than sort of having to run around by yourself and figure out, you know, what you need to attach to your application and when do you need things and all that kind of stuff, it's a lot easier for you to work with KOM. So they're based in Ontario, but they will assist students all across Canada. And we've been working with KOM for a really long time, so they're really familiar with Griffith's entry requirements, application requirements as well, and of course our college pathways. Now, I should mention, because before we were talking about fees, you know, studying abroad is not cheap, but there are a lot of different opportunities for you finance-wise. So first and foremost, if you have provincial loans available to you, such as OSAP in Ontario, you can actually, they usually always offer an international version of it. So sometimes students say to me, oh, I'm not eligible for OSAP because I'm not eligible in my current study. Keep in mind that international study is considered separate to your domestic study. So even if you weren't eligible for something like OSAP, you know, for your college study, you can still apply to come to Griffith. So that's a great resource that will definitely help with tuition. We also have a lot of scholarships available at Griffith. A lot of them are based on academic excellence. So as a college partner student, you will be eligible for a scholarship, which is a 10% discount on your first year's tuition fees. But you can also apply for any of the other academic excellence scholarships on top of that. So we have bigger scholarships, which are also applicable to students coming from articulation partners. And they're 25% off your tuition fees, which is pretty great. Our biggest scholarship is the Remarkable Scholarship, and we offer a number of those every trimester. And sometimes college students think, oh, I'm not even going to bother trying for the Remarkable Scholarship. Like it's so big, your GPA would have to be, outstanding, amazing. I couldn't possibly win one. Last year, one of our Canadian students did win one, and he's doing the Bachelor of Criminology, and he pathwayed through from a Canadian college. So please don't count yourself out of anything. You need to apply for everything you can. If you have a look at the Find Out More link down here for scholarships, and if you don't take note of this, don't worry, just let KOM or myself know if you have questions about where to find this. But on the scholarships website, you can actually search by nationality, by study area, and by program level. And that will drop down lots of scholarships that you might be eligible for. So you'll be eligible for a lot of really big ones, and then you're eligible for the smaller, like 10% ones. So please make sure that you apply for everything that you're eligible for sure. And yes, so KOM just mentioned the work while you study. So that's the other great thing about Australia, is that your work permit is built into your student visa. So you can actually work while you're in Australia as well. So that will definitely help you with your living costs in Australia. So if you're a student visa holder, you can work basically 20 hours per week during study time. And then in any breaks between trimesters, or that big trimester 3 break, you can actually work full time in Australia. So that's pretty great. It's a great option to have. And minimum wage in Australia is high. I think the absolute minimum you can earn now is just over $20 an hour. Most of the students I know, even if they're doing something like stacking supermarket shelves, they're earning somewhere between $30 and $35 an hour. So it's not bad at all. And we do actually have a service called Unitemps on campus. So this is an in-house recruitment service. So this basically helps to link you to employers in the local area. Basically, they will help you find an employer that, can work around your study schedule, that can, be as flexible as you need them to be pretty much. Or if you're looking to work in a particular industry, they can try and help you out with that as well. So they're a great service, totally free, available on campus to everyone. And we do have a careers and employment office on campus in addition to Unitemps. So if you're kind of trying to get more prepared for graduation, and as I said, like work and employability is a huge focus at Griffith. So yeah, if you want to learn how to, write a proper resume, how to improve your cover letters, how do you write for selection criteria, which comes up in a lot of jobs these days, all of that kind of stuff, even interview preparation. So these guys hold sessions on this kind of stuff all throughout the year. So I just had a question from Isabella about submitting her transcript to KOM to be assessed, even though she's still completing her college program. Excuse me. Yes, Isabella, you can. I'd probably, if you're looking to transfer into one of our programs, I'd probably wait until final semester, just so we've got as much information on your transcript as possible. And in general, I would say most students should apply in their final semester of college if you're looking at coming straight after you get out. Having said that, if you get an offer and for some reason you can't come in the trimester that you had originally asked for, you are able to defer for up to 12 months. So if you, let's say you apply for trimester 1 2021, if you need to defer, you can defer to trimester 2, possibly trimester 3 if your program is offered then as well, or the following trimester 1 in 2022. So you've got a lot of opportunities there for deferral if you can't come right away. That's the other thing I should mention, is that you don't have to come to Griffith right after you finish, like as soon as you finish. So those opportunities are not going to go away. Our relationships with the colleges have been long-standing, so we know the pathways, we're aware of them, and they're not changing anytime soon. So yeah, if you need to take a semester off, a year off, do some work, do some, something else, you may have commitments elsewhere, you can totally do that and come back to us, apply to Griffith after a semester or a year, whatever. So that happens quite a lot, and that's fine. And again, KOM can still help you through that whole application process. So just aside from tuition, the additional cost of studying, some things you need to keep in mind, your visa application fees. So normally you would pay about $600 $600 for your student visa. And that's like a one-off fee. You would need to pay your overseas student health cover. So this is not a requirement of Griffith. This is a requirement of the Australian government. So anybody coming in on a student visa must have overseas health cover. Normally you can do it through Griffith. It's pretty straightforward. If not, if you don't want to do it through Griffith, you just have to basically prove that you have cover equivalent to what we would do. And again, it's not directly through Griffith, it's through an insurance company. But yeah, you can pay it at the same time as you pay your tuition deposit up front. So your OSHC, again, is about $650 per year. And of course, cost of living, which we'll go into a little bit more in a second. You'll obviously have some other personal expenses. It kind of depends on, how you like to spend your money, what your lifestyle is normally like. So this gives you a little bit of a breakdown of what costs will look like in Australia. So we've given you a bit of a breakdown there for rent, for example. So up the top, these boxes refer to the different campuses. So on-campus accommodation there's on-campus accommodation here at Gold Coast and Nathan, Mount Gravatt and Logan. So you can see there's quite a range, and that's just because it depends on how many people you're sharing your on-campus apartment with. So it's not dorm style at Griffith, it is apartment style. So you have your own bedroom, you're just sharing your kitchen kind of living space with your roommates. And it is self-catered, so we don't do meal plans at Griffith. You will go to the supermarket, buy your own food, cook it. The kitchen is fully equipped. So you can do that, or you can eat out, you can order Uber Eats or skip the dishes or whatever you want. So it's up to you. You can kind of organize your own food. And then if you have a look at share house off campus, so again, you're looking at somewhere between $160 up to $450 per week for off-campus share house accommodation. And again, this will depend a lot upon, the area and how many people you're living with. So $450 is more like what you'd be looking at if you were living, at one of those high rises right on Surfers Paradise, like right on the beach. So if you're willing to be a little flexible, a little further away from the beach or a little further from downtown, there's a lot of affordable options. And we do offer homestay as well. So if you're interested in doing a trimester or any amount of time with an Australian family, you can totally do that as well. And yeah, this just gives you a little bit more information on the accommodation on campus. So this is the Gold Coast University Village here with the pool. So it's pretty nice. Pretty nice for student accommodation. But I guess it depends also on what you're used to at your back here in Canada. And if you're looking for off-campus accommodation, these are generally the accommodation websites that we will recommend to students. So these are the same websites that Australian students will use to find either their own place or to find somebody who has a place who's looking for a roommate. So both options available. And these are all linked on our website as well. But yeah, if you have any questions about that, just let myself or KOM know. And this is the Gold Coast tram. So going back to when we were talking about public transport options, this is the tram on the Gold Coast that would most likely be taking you to the Gold Coast campus. I should mention as well, we do offer pre-departure sessions and free airport pickup. So it doesn't matter whether you're landing in Brisbane or at the Gold Coast, and it doesn't matter which campus you're going to from either of those airports. We will pick you up and take you. We just need 72 hours notice, so you need to book that. When you're given all of your confirmation information, you'll be given a link actually to the website where you can book this. So it's pretty straightforward. And of course, we do hold pre-departure webinars for students prior to each trimester as well, just to give you a little bit more detailed information. So Isabella's just asking, do most Canadian students live on or off campus? I guess most Canadians, to be honest, it kind of depends on where they are in their academic career. I think most Canadians who have already done some college study in Canada or who have finished an undergrad degree, they would tend to live off campus, usually at one of our preferred partners, which are available on the website, or yeah, using one of those links, you know, finding their own place or some other housemates. If students are coming in kind of straight from high school, they're more likely to live on campus. And sometimes students do a combination. So if you're coming down and you've got a year or a year and a half left with us, sometimes students will start doing one trimester on campus and then move off campus for the last trimester or last year of their studies. So they kind of get the best of both worlds, I guess, both experiences. But yeah, it's totally up to you. It kind of depends what works best for you. And your particular kind of study style and living style, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of great student life on Griffith campuses as well. So obviously Australians are very, very big into sport. We are kind of sports crazy. So you'll see there are lots of sporting and fitness facilities. Lots of sporting clubs and teams to get involved in, not just at the kind of higher intramural kind of level, although those do exist, but there's also tons of social sport clubs as well. So you're pretty much covered no matter what level of athlete you are. There's kind of something for everybody. There are lots of other clubs as well, academic clubs, lots of clubs related to, different parts of culture, religion, yeah, tons of different stuff. Basically, if you have a look on the Student Guild section of the Griffith site, you can have a look at all the different clubs. They're all listed there. And if you can't find something that you're looking for, you can always get in touch with the Student Guild and they'd be happy to help you figure out how to set up your own club. And that's the Gold Coast Aquatic Centre. So you can use the pool there, and you can also go inside that building. They have fitness classes, they have a gym, yeah, tons of facilities there. I think they also use, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the pool they use also when they're holding movie nights, like outdoor movie nights and stuff like that. So you'll see, yeah, students floating in the pool, and yeah, it's really fun. It's great for summer. We do also have a Canadian Students Association. Sorry, these slides are really wonky in some parts. But yeah, there is a Canadian Students Association. They're particularly strong on the Gold Coast. I think that's because that's generally where the majority of Canadians will end up, unless they've kind of got their hearts set on Nathan campus, which does sometimes happen. Sometimes people prefer to be in the bigger city of Brisbane. But yeah, there's a lot of Canadians around on the Gold Coast particularly. Now, I'm going to attempt to play you a video. Let's hope that there are no more technical difficulties. So we'll hear from some of our Canadians.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Babin, and I'm from Eastern Canada. Let me introduce to you some of my friends that call Griffith home.
Griffith is known as a world-class university, and this has been really reflected in the standard of teaching that I've experienced at Griffith. My lecturers are very friendly, very professional, and the content we learn has been brilliant. They know me by name, and it's been such a great learning environment.
So I chose Australia because I had some friends that traveled over here a couple of years ago and told me how beautiful it was. One of my best experiences here at Griffith was definitely meeting all types of people from all around the world, learning about their cultures, where they're from, and definitely having a good time with them.
My lecturer in Griffith University was very, very helpful. Every time I have a consultation, they advised me not only for academic, but for personal issues, which was really helpful, and I really appreciate that.
I was really nervous. I was not sure how people are gonna treat me. I was not confident about my language as well. But at the same time, I was really happy that I'm coming to another country which is so much different to where I am from, and I will be having so many other opportunities.
I love Australia because of the people and just the whole atmosphere. They have nice weather all the time. We just go to the beach. It's just a different lifestyle. My advice is make friends, talk to people, don't be shy, and just be yourself.
At uni, I felt really homesick. Good thing that Griffith Uni has a lot of clubs that I can join to. If you're a Latin American, we have a Latin American club. If you're a Chinese student, we have a Chinese club.
I definitely made lots of friends in OE. That made me a little bit more comfortable being here. Everyone was really welcoming, and I loved being a part of the social calendar. I definitely think studying at Griffith is going to help me in my career. I'm almost about to graduate, and I feel really prepared to go out into the workforce.
We look forward to welcoming you to the Griffith community. Hi, my name is Jonathan Babin, and I'm from Eastern Canada.
Okay. So the other thing I wanted to mention to you as well was the peer support available at Griffith. So one of the things you'll notice about Griffith is kind of layers upon layers upon layers of student support, and kind of that base level, the peer level. There are, obviously lots of people around willing to help, but the Griffith mates in particular are a really great student group to get to know during orientation when you first get to campus. So this group is made up basically of students who, both Australian and international students who've been at Griffith usually for at least a year themselves. So they know their way around, they know how to get things done, where to go, who to see, all that kind of stuff. So these guys organise a lot of activities during orientation, but they also hold activities all throughout the year. And one of the things that they do is volunteering work. So if you're interested in helping out, particularly around like taking care of the environment, they do offer a lot of volunteering opportunities. And there's also an international student buddy program within the Griffith Mates. So if you're looking to be buddied up, particularly, they will be able to give you, aside from the greater group of Griffith Mates, they'll be able to give you a particular, buddy, which is nice. It's nice to have somebody before you even get on campus sometimes. And there's a lot of other support at Griffith, as I mentioned. So obviously language is not going to be an issue for you guys, but there's an international student advisory. So these guys are available to you all the time, both on campus, through chat, through phone. So they can help you with all sorts of different, issues, because we do realize that, international students will sometimes have different issues than Australian students. So these guys are here to help you specifically with issues relating to being an international student. Also health and wellbeing and disability services. So if you have any, issues in terms of learning or any other kind of disability where you need accommodations made, we can certainly do that for you as well. So that's something that, you can talk to KOM about, and we can start the ball rolling in terms of getting preparations made for accommodating pretty much any issue. We have, obviously health and wellbeing is very important, not just physical health, but mental health. So we do have, we have doctors, nurses and psychiatrists available on campus, and there's a range of counselling services available to students as well. So yeah, you can contact, so I'm obviously based here in Canada, in Ontario, so you can contact me anytime with questions, as well as, of course, the staff at KOM. But yeah, if you want to get in touch, you can email me, you can call or text me. I'm also happy to Skype, and you can also check out my Instagram. Griffith also has a ton of, tons of different ways to connect as well. So if you want to find out some more information about Griffith, hear what students are really saying as well, you can check out the social media channels. They're always great for that. And I'm just going to give you one final video that will just give you a little bit of a taste of the environment and what studying at Griffith will look like.
Peaceful walks in sunset talks, blissful explosion lights the sky. Clarity is sharp as glass. The beauty draws me in. Love changes everything,
No, oh, there's one. Would 1.5 years be equal to 3 semesters? Yeah, that's right. That's right, Isabella. So if you were starting in trimester 1 for your program and you had 1.5 years or 3 trimesters, you'd probably do trimester 1, have a break, come back, do trimester 2, then have that big summer break in trimester 3, and then come back the following trimester 1. However, if there are courses available in your program for trimester 3 to finish up, you could potentially do 3 trimesters in a row. Yeah, both options are possible. Sometimes students do have the option to finish up in trimester 3 and run 3 trimesters straight together, but they actually choose not to. They choose to have that big break so that they can do some travel and work in Australia and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's up to you. It's up to, you know, what works best for you, pretty much. Any other questions from anyone? Feel free to type them in now. How long are the breaks in between each semester? So let me just double check that. I've got that right in front of me. So between trimester 1 and 2, there's usually about 3 or 4 weeks, just depending on when your exams finish up. So the exam block, like that I listed on one of those slides, is sort of the absolute beginning and end date for exams, but sometimes your exams won't run that entire block. So normally you'd get 3 weeks. Sometimes you might be lucky and get 4. Then the break between trimester 2 and 3 is normally about 10 to 14 days. So yeah, 1.5 to 2 weeks. And then obviously if you're having a break between the end of trimester 2 and the following trimester 1, you'll have a big break. So you'll probably go from late October through until the end of February the following year, if that makes sense. So that's like 3, usually about 3 and a bit months. Yeah, so that's a really good size break. So Brianna is asking, how do we know which programs would be available based on our graduated Canadian program? Brianna, feel free to contact either myself or KOM. We have so many college partnerships in Canada, and some of them have tons and tons of different pathways to Griffith. So yeah, probably best to either contact KOM or myself, and we'll be able to tell you exactly what you can pathway into. Again, if there's another program that you'd like to be assessed for, you can totally do that by applying and being assessed at that time. A lot of your colleges also do have the pathways on the website, on their websites, and the credit and transfer office at your college can usually give you an idea as well of what's available. Let's see here. So Kendra said you mentioned being able to get a job while studying. Is there a certain process that international students have to go through to get a job? Is it any harder to get a job? Generally, Kendra, no. It depends if you're looking for just like a casual part-time job doing kind of anything like you would do in Canada, like retail, hospitality, that kind of stuff. Brisbane and Gold Coast are pretty good in regards to part-time and casual jobs. Brisbane being a capital city, Gold Coast particularly being a tourism hub. There are tourists coming in and out of there all the time because it's a big holiday destination. So there's a lot of hotels, there's a casino, there's resorts, there's tons of opportunities for, yeah, lots of different types of jobs. So in that regard, it's those types of jobs are generally pretty easily available. International students don't have to go through anything different to anybody else because you do have that work permit built into your student visa. So no additional requirements for you. If you're trying to get a job more specific to what you're studying, it may be a little harder because there may be fewer opportunities available. But that's a good kind of opportunity, I think, to talk to your professors and your tutors and see what kind of connections they have, what might be available. It might be an opportunity where you could start off kind of doing like an unpaid work experience similar to an internship, and then transition into a paying job in that way. That's typically what happens if you're looking for something very specific to your study area. How long before the start of semester would you recommend us to move to Australia? Most students would come in probably a week or two before orientation. So try not to come in during orientation if you can help it. Orientation is really important. There's lots of stuff going on across the whole university, and there's also specific stuff for international students and specific sessions that will come through your school. So yeah, try to be there definitely before orientation. And it also depends on, whether you already have your accommodation set up. So sometimes students don't have their accommodation kind of set up before they come down. So they come down, maybe 2 or 3 weeks before orientation, so that they can look at some places in person. So they'll just stay temporary accommodation, Airbnb, something like that. And, actually see some places in person before they decide. I can totally understand that, particularly if you're looking at a website, like if you're looking at a Griffith preferred partner, the pictures and the 360-degree views give you a pretty accurate representation of what the place actually looks and feels like. If you're looking at another kind of non-Griffith website, you want to be a little more cautious, I guess, to make sure that, the place is exactly what you thought it would be. So yeah, we don't want you to have a bad experience via accommodation. Is there any centre to help international students to set up bank account? Yeah, yes. So all of that will be covered in orientation, which is another great reason not to miss orientation, because you will be taken through all of that stuff when you get on campus. Having said that, a couple of points. If you're coming into Brisbane Airport, where a lot of you probably would before possibly transferring, you may get picked up by car at Brisbane Airport and transported to Gold Coast. So if you're coming into Brisbane, and that's the major international airport in Queensland, so that would make sense. When you come out of the international terminal into kind of that arrivals section, there is at least one booth. There may even be more, but there's definitely one booth there with a company called Optus, which is one of the biggest telephone communications providers in Australia. And they are set up right there for you to walk straight out with your phone and to get a temporary SIM card put in. So if you need one right away, just walk straight out into the arrivals hall and you'll see those guys there. And there's other ways to get them, around town and close to campus once you get there. But if you want one, as soon as you walk out from your flight, those guys are there to help you. So you can definitely do that. And I'm pretty sure last time I checked, you could set up an Australian bank account before you even leave Canada. So most of the big major banks in Australia will be happy to do that with you. Some of the big banks are NAB, National Australia Bank, CBA, Commonwealth Bank of Australia, Westpac is another one, WESTPAC, and ANZ. Yeah, so they're kind of the big four banks. So yeah, you can look into doing that before you leave Canada. SIM card available right there when you arrive at the airport. And of course, there'll be even more information on that at orientation as well. So Nina's asking about computer engineering. So Nina, depends on what diploma you're coming from. We do have pathways into the Bachelor of Computer Science and Bachelor of Information Technology. So those might be options for you. Yeah, it kind of depends. I'm not sure what kind of career you're wanting. So you may want to contact me directly for a bit more information about that. Yeah. The other thing we have is electrical and electronic engineering as one of our engineering majors as well. So I'm not quite sure what you're looking for, but yeah, feel free to contact me directly for more assistance. And same with anybody. If you have, you know, specific interest or specific question, individual concerns, that kind of stuff that you want to talk about in more detail, yeah, please feel free to get in touch with KOM or myself, and we'll be happy to give you kind of a more personalized, tailored answer to your questions. There's some good questions, guys. Thank you for those. Does anybody have any others? Feel free to ask, and I'm just going to flip back on the slides again to my contact details. So if there aren't any other questions, yeah, I think we'll wrap it up there. And yeah, please feel free to get in touch with myself or KOM. We're happy to help and answer any more questions you have. So thanks for coming out today, everyone. Really appreciate it. I hope you have a good rest of the day, and hope to see you at Griffith. Bye.